There are many things lined up for 2023, and one of them's a fight between former kickboxer Andrew Tate and Jake Paul. Jake teased this fight on his Instagram and said that this would take place in 2023. No specified details about the date and time were revealed, but we're hearing that the negotiations are ongoing. In this video, we'll talk about who'd win in a fight between Tate and Paul. Let's begin! First up, who's the favorite to win this fight? After Jake Paul teased this fight on his Instagram, people have been discussing this since and are putting bets on who'll win the fight when it happens or if it happens. It's not certain that this fight's absolutely going to happen at all costs, but we'll talk about the positives, so we wish it did happen. Who doesn't like a fight between two social media stars? People are backing Jake Paul to win this fight and think it could be the biggest fight of the year in viewership. Why is Paul the people's favorite? Because Tate has been out of action for so many years. We don't even know if he has stepped into the ring during all those years. His inactivity can play a huge role in his loss. This inactivity can cost Tate the fight because the last time he fought professionally was way back in 2013. It's been just over 9 years since that fight, although in his last fight, he did win the ISCA World Championship. But we're not saying that Paul's the favorite to win by a huge margin. These are just fine margins. And to be honest, anything can happen in that fight. Jake Paul only just took up boxing, as his first boxing match was back in 2018, and Tate used to be a professional kickboxing champion. Who knows what's going to happen? Up next, Jake Paul has faced better opponents than Tate. Another reason why Paul's the favorite is that he has faced better opponents in his short boxing career and defeated them too, compared to the opponents Tate faced. He has proven his might against amateurs and ex-professional fighters as well. This dude fought former UFC champion Anderson Silva and won via unanimous decision. Like, he's that good. And with a professional boxing record of 6-0, there's no doubt that Jake is the real deal. This just proves that he can go the distance against Tate as well. It's not going to be easy because Tate has world championship titles in different weight classes, so that has to count for something. The only thing that has us in doubt regarding Tate is his extended absence from any type of combat sports. Deep down in our hearts, we don't think he'll return for a fight after so many years. As much as we and the whole world want him to, we don't think he will. Let's talk about why is Jake Paul so good at boxing. The 25-year-old superstar is on top of the world right now. After taking on some big names in his young boxing career, he thinks he can take on anyone. And honestly, we think the same too. What makes him so good is his boxing style. Maybe he trained hard for it, or it came to him naturally. But his boxing style is very solid. Like everyone else, he does have some limitations, but he can generate decent amounts of power in his punches, which makes him very dangerous. Now, combine all this training with his natural talent, and you've got a great fighter. And it's not a surprise that he did so well against some of the greatest fighters. Plus, he has also got some of the best trainers in the world who are working on him tirelessly to make him a great boxer. And it's clear they've been doing a great job preparing him for his fights and mentoring him. Out of his 6 professional fights, he has a perfect record, with 4 of those wins coming from a knockout. Now, that's some record to possess. Coming up, Jake Paul's dedication to boxing is real. No one thought this when he was first starting out in boxing. Everyone thought it was just a stunt to make money, and it was only a one-time thing. But with time, Paul proved that his love for boxing was real, and he was dedicated to improving himself, which obviously he did. With time, he faced better and better opponents, which also made him better and improved his boxing skills. He has been working hard for the past few years, and the results are coming for him. Another positive thing about his boxing style is that he's very good at reading his opponents. He's able to guess their next move and act accordingly. He possesses the art of delivering combinations like a professional boxer, which is great. Plus, his balance, footwork, and quickness are very good. Up next, the reality of the opponents that he has faced. After all this discussion, it all comes down to this. Let's talk about the reality of all the opponents that he has faced so far. Yes, he has faced some big big names in his career, but if we're being honest, he hasn't faced tough competition from them. All the opponents he's faced were far from the best versions of themselves, like he faced 47-year-old Anderson Silva. How well did you guys think he'd do against Paul? Plus, Silva only took up boxing in 2021, which is completely different from MMA. That's why Silva couldn't perform so well, but he still did great. Things would have been different if it was a fully fit Anderson Silva from his prime UFC days. Following up, Tate has a shot at beating Jake Paul. No, we're not completely ruling Tate out of this fight. If he can channel his energy and somehow fights the same way he did in his best kickboxing years, he can defeat Paul or prove to be a tougher challenge for him. Tate was actually a very good fighter. His record speaks for itself. Out of 85 professional matches, he won 76 of them. That's a sensational record. Plus, he has way more experience under his belt than Jake Paul in combat sports. He needs to find the best version of himself, and we think he has a shot. Now, moving on to how Andrew Tate would lose all he's worked for if he lost. First up, Tate could be classified as someone who talks so much but can't take action. Andrew Tate's this big, notorious internet sensation who recently became an online star. Before that, he was well known in the kickboxing world and also appeared on the reality show Big Brother. He did really well in cashing all of his fame into building one of the biggest online presence for himself in such a short time. All he does online is talk about how good he is, how rich he is, how he can beat anyone if it comes down to a fight and whatnot. Suppose you're willing to follow through on your commitments and prove that you are a dependable and reliable individual. In that case, taking action to achieve your goals is not entirely incorrect, and this is what's on the line for him if the fight between him and Paul does actually happen. His integrity and his ego are basically on the line. If he loses this fight, it could have serious consequences. It's likely that people will speak badly of him, as they already sometimes do. However, it's important to remember that this is just a possibility and not a certainty. But they'll also think that he's only good for talking smack. Moving on, Tate himself doesn't think that this fight is going to happen. Maybe he's saving himself for the worst outcome possible by not fighting, but he's in doubt over this fight. A couple of weeks ago, he was doing a live stream session with an influencer named Aiden Ross, in which he was asked about his fight with Paul. He replied that he didn't think the fight would go through. He confirmed that there are a lot of negotiations for the fight behind the scenes, but he doesn't think they'll be successful. He also said that it's not a very simple process. He added that he likes Jake and said it's Logan who's full of shit. That's something, but it's a talk for some other day. We're only focused on the fight today. So, what do you think Tate's recent statements mean? Is it his way of backing down from the fight because he has a lot more at stake than Jake Paul? Tate has presented himself as this macho alpha male, and he can't afford to lose this one. Maybe deep down, he also thinks he will lose, so he's trying to save himself from earlier embarrassment. But if the fight doesn't happen, he'll have no way of proving his might in a combat sport again. This is what he trains and works for every day, and if he doesn't do it, it will be bad. Let's just hope that the fight does go through. Finally, this isn't the first time a fight between the two has been teased. Yes, this has been talked about before as well. In August 2022, Jake Paul was really struggling to find opponents for himself. He was scheduled to fight Tommy Fury and Hasim Rahman Jr., but both these fights got canceled in August. Suddenly, there were rumors that Jake was talking with Andrew Tate over a potential fight. Later, Tate also talked about it and said that he would fight him any day of the week. He further added that he does like him, but he'd still kick the living crap out of Jake Paul. He clarified that he isn't some washed-up UFC fighter and is also not smaller than Jake. Being bigger than someone doesn't necessarily mean that you'll win the fight, but that's what Tate thinks. So, we'll let him. But the rumors settled after Jake announced that he would be fighting Anderson Silva next, and after he won against him, he called out Nate Diaz and Canelo Alvarez. People thought that the Tate saga was over, but suddenly again the rumors are back, and there are negotiations as well this time. Let's see how those negotiations will go. That's a wrap for this video. Who do you think will win if the fight does happen? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.